a letter addressed to the officers, President Cyril Ramaphosa confirms that the chairperson of the Commission, Chief Justice Raymond Zondo, presented to him parts 5 and 6 of the final report on Wednesday, the 22nd of June. You watched it happen here on Newzroom Afrika. Athi Mtongana is standing by for us outside Parliament. Athi, what more do we know about this correspondence?
Well, of course, Temegile, we know that President Cyril Ramaphosa in 4 months' time will be presenting that final report. In fact, it will be a subject of discussion by parliamentarians when they go through sections and the volumes of the Zondo Commission reports, which have now essentially been handed over to President Cyril Ramaphosa. I do have with me Moloto Motapo. He is the spokesperson of Parliament. Moloto, like I said, the President expected here in 4 months' time, but we know that there are members of Parliament who are implicated in that particular report that just came out, and we know that some of them will be referred or have been referred to the Ethics Committee. Talk to us about some of the work that Parliament has to do.
Well, as we have said, because already the President has submitted before the Friday final submission, or not a final submission, but final submission insofar as the matters that directly involve Parliament are concerned. So the President had already submitted part 2 and 3, which mentions certain members of Parliament that are still serving as we are currently speaking. And the presiding officers have acted swiftly on the basis of a legal opinion that we have since received to refer those names to the Ethics Committee of Parliament. And so those names are currently, the Ethics Committee is currently dealing with those members of Parliament. So the President once again submitted on Friday the part 5 as well as part 6 and part volume 1 as well as 2 of part 5 as well as volume 2 of part 6. And those reports, as the President said, they directly relate to the action that is required from Parliament. So the presiding officers are awaiting a legal opinion, their second legal opinion from our legal and constitutional division, which is currently looking into the report and will provide a legal opinion to the presiding officers on what will be the correct way of dealing. Indeed, as you correctly say, if there are certain members of Parliament that are mentioned that require the decision or action of Parliament, that will be swiftly done, as well as other matters that will be required from Parliament.
I'm wondering, this legal and constitutional division of Parliament, will it only be looking at some of the members that have been implicated in terms of the action that needs to be taken, or will it be collectively looking then at the steps that Parliament has to follow in as far as the recommendations that came from Chief Justice Raymond Zondo, particularly in the instances where Parliament was found to be lacking in playing its oversight role, hence the deepening of state capture at state institutions?
No, you are correct. This part 5 and 6 do not necessarily speak to the individual members of Parliament that may be implicated. It also deals with the issues of oversight and the constitutional role of Parliament, whether it was carried sufficiently or not during the state capture. So the Legal Services Department will therefore go through the entire report and ensure that they provide a full, comprehensive program of action or actionable decision that needs to be taken by Parliament. So that's what the presiding officers are waiting for.
I'm just wondering what the reaction of the presiding officers is, the Speaker of the National Assembly and the NCOP, in terms of the outcomes of that particular report pertaining to the lack of oversight. What was their immediate reaction when that report was finally handed over to the President?
Well, you remember that the presiding officers, they themselves went and appeared before the State Capture Commission. They gave a very full, comprehensive outline of some of the corrective measures that Parliament had already put in place where it has been found wanting. And it has committed, the presiding officers have committed that where Parliament was found to have been complicit or one way or another been able to sufficiently fulfill its constitutional function, they will ensure that appropriate measures are put in place. But now we
on that note, I do have to cut you there, because a lot of South Africans don't have confidence in Parliament then implementing the recommendations, especially if themselves had been found lacking to play their oversight role. So how do you presume things are going to be done effectively this time around when it comes to those recommendations? Because the trust has been lost generally from South Africans in terms of Parliament actually doing what it's supposed to do.
Well, Parliament will do whatever it takes to regain and restore the trust of South Africans into the institution. And I'm sure South Africans would have seen that where Parliament was required and called to fulfill certain constitutional functions, it has been able to do that to the best of its own ability. For instance, even before this the State Capture Commission reports could come out, Parliament has already put in place certain measures to improve its oversight. For instance, unlike before, where there is no response to the written questions to the members of the executive, there are certain steps that have been now put in coded into the rules of the National Assembly and the National Council of Provinces to ensure that there is much harsher action against the members of the cabinet who are not responsive. So those are some of the issues that Parliament has already embarked on even before these reports could come. So that's why we are saying that the presiding officers are fully committed. They've made that committed before the state capture, and that is a commitment that they will carry through with regard to these reports now that they have come to Parliament. And when the president also submit his own reports with regard to the program of action from the side of the cabinet or the executive, Parliament will ensure that it plays the necessary oversight over that implementation process.
Right. Thank you so much for your time. The spokesperson of Parliament, Moloto Motapo, explaining how Parliament will be making sure that they play their role in terms of the implementation of the recommendations from the Chief Justice, particularly the Chairperson of the Zondo Commission, as well as, of course, the role that the President has to play in also making sure that some of the recommendations, if not all, are actually implemented. So we'll leave it there for now. We'll continue to bring you more recommendations given to Parliament by the Zondo Commission.
Athi Mtongana, thank you very much for your reporting from Cape Town.